Thank you. Raise your hands up if you know a person who's vertically challenged. Okay. Thank you. Raise your hands up if you know a person who's horizontally gifted. Anyone? Okay, thank you. Raise your hands up if you know what political correctness means. Okay, thank you. Political correctness is a term often associated with kindness. No, what I meant to say was political correctness is a term often associated with society's intolerance. Its inability to take offensive remarks because it hurts your quote-unquote feelings. Going back to my introduction from before, I had just told you to raise your hands up if you knew anyone who was fat or short in a very subtle way. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, being PC is like a sleight of hand, but of course with words. Being PC is an ideal forced upon society in order to be considered kind, to be considered humane. But what about the essence of free speech from the First Amendment? Political correctness opposes people's rights to free speech, restricting not only their voices but also their language. But where did PC come from? What's its origin story? To understand such a complicated matter, one has to go back in time where language has yet to be constricted by rules, constricted by order. Political correctness is an idea formed by the Marxist-Leninists describing the policies and the principles of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Political correctness is being popularized during the 1970s and is a term that is ripped off of communist legacies, a parody, if you will. Social advocates, especially during this time, would come and go using this word as to describe new social movements, to describe new social events, but they don't even know where the word had derived from. They don't know that the word had derived from a history of communism. Georg Lucas is the man who created a legacy drowned in Marxist ideas. His existence, of course, retains the beginning or the start of being PC. What's so interesting about this one guy is that he attended school. Yes, everyone, he is very smart. He attended a school called Frankfurt University, where they talked mostly about politics, about how capitalism is making everyone feel economically distressed, and how the Western culture is making everyone feel psychologically distressed. His argument was that the same school had created schemes in order to criticize every social institution there is, including the very family that raised us. This school had also pointed out that if you were to protect such sacrilege, you would be a patient with a mental disorder. Therefore, if anyone had the audacity or the courage to defy PC, they would be locked in a psychiatric hospital where they would undergo a training called the sensitivity training, which is essentially a conditioning that trains you to be more submissive, to be a mere puppet. This is political correctness. This is the PC that we have come and used for so many generations. However, there's nothing wrong with being PC. There's nothing wrong with political correctness itself. Well, except for its passive ability of restricting free speech. According to Cornell Law School, the First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting establishment or religion or prohibiting the exercise thereof, or engaging in the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievance. The very definition of political correctness goes against the law. Furthermore, political correctness also is based on the belief that language can be offensive. Language can hurt people's specific individuals' insecurities and weaknesses. And because of this, to limit those remarks, to limit the offensive remarks being made to those people, PC needs to be a facilitator of that. One may think that being PC is a way to be kind to people, is a way to treat people as human beings, to treat as equal human beings. However, that in itself is the crux of the problem. Words is subjective to people, and the interpretation of such is varied amongst populations. There is no such saying whether or not a word is offensive objectively. According to Google, there's 7.53 billion people in the world, that has different meanings of one single word. Political correctness also puts boundaries on the very words we wish to speak. This made people like Donald Trump exist. I am no former way questioning how Donald Trump runs his office. I am merely pointing out that he uses political correctness as a shield to say outrageous remarks. For example, during the Republican debate of 2016, he had called women fat pigs, and when he was asked to remark about it, his response was this very sentence. He has no time for political correctness. And if you were asked to challenge him upon it, he would merely say that you are restricting his free speech. But people voted for him. People voted for him because of his insulting remarks. How ironic is that more than half of his voters were women themselves. Why did they vote? Why did they vote? Why did they vote for someone who is very controversial, like Donald Trump? Well, it's because they're frustrated of being restricted. They want to be free. They want to talk how Donald Trump would like to talk. Because of this, American society previews Trump as a hero of American culture because he's bringing a change to it. The very existence of political correctness is a double-edged sword that could kill or heal the American society. By saying this, I mean that both sides of the political spectrum is misusing this word, both the extremist lefts and the biased rights. The lefts would use this to essentially tell people to limit their words, to limit the offensive language they're going to tell to their peers and their friends. For example, in universities and colleges, they would have these stands and discussions about why you should limit your offensive language, when the very point of going to college is to find who you are as an individual, who you are as a human being. On the other hand, the biased rights had weaponized this term. They say that if they did not like what they were hearing, they would immediately say that you are being too politically correct, and using that word to provide some kind of counter-argument and deeming the other person's argument as something that's nonsense. And of course, this provides us with a larger space for more insulting remarks, like, for example, the B word or the N word. This is true, and I must admit to that. However, in no way or form am I advocating for a stop in political correctness. There's still some truth in keeping political correctness, like keeping people like Trump in check. I am merely pointing out that society is now being too politically correct that we're hindering effectiveness. Stephen Fry, a renowned actor, writer, and activist, had said in his argument that political correctness really, apart from the fact that it's po-faced, sanctimonious, self-righteous occasionally, is that it's not effective. He also mentions that one of the greatest human failings is to be correct, and how political correctness promotes the idea of correctness instead of effectiveness. For example, during 2014, there was a hashtag Gamergate movement that was specifically targeted towards the girl gamer community. The idea of this campaign is to essentially direct their threats and harassment towards the girl gamer community, calling them social justice warriors. Now, to me, this specific campaign is a proof of how the gamer community is now being too agitated, too alerted, too alarmed about how girls are having that power, having that influence within the gaming world. And by calling them social justice warriors, it's a way for them to dismiss any ideas, contributions, and even their personal safety. This is an example of how political correctness can hinder effectiveness. Now, this is just one example. Other people are too hung up on the fact that what they're saying is politically correct or not. Therefore, they would start wasting time deliberating and worrying if what they're saying is hurting other people. But because of that, they are wasting precious time for their own productivity. Political correctness limits the growth and the development of our society. The one word you say is the one thing that would improve them for the future. Political correctness hides the truth from being released. yet that one truth that you might say would stick to them for the better of the future. This is why political correctness must be at least to the point limited, to the point where it at least does not hinder effectiveness. Thank you.